Hello everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. And we are here for our 252nd episode of the Talk That Talk Show. And I'm excited because, you know, when you see that green background and you don't see that Talk Show in the background, you know that probably means I got a guest on the show. So I'm definitely going to be excited to let you know who I do have coming on. But, you know, I definitely want to thank everyone that tunes in on our Facebook live stream, on our Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. You guys are all the reason why we're over 29,000 downloads and closing in very shortly at 30,000. And, you know, I think it's never lost the fact that I truly do enjoy and appreciate your support that you give me each and every week. You know, being patient with my work schedule, with my personal schedule, just trying to make sure that I'm out here giving you guys an episode. I think that, you know, it definitely is something that I look forward to, and I love, you know, having my friends like Doc, like Jeff, TK, Ernesto, Isaiah, all these people that, you know, do tune into the podcast, give me feedback. My boy Brian Spawn, who's rocking all the way from Kentucky. And I just feel like people really do appreciate the genuineness and the authenticity that is the Talk That Talk Show. And I created a Instagram post partly because my girlfriend was making fun of me a little bit. She said, "Damn, you haven't posted something in over a year." And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll post something. And oddly enough, I got these fly-ass jerseys on that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I just felt that, you know, I've really appreciated over these last, you know, years, just enjoying the creative freedom that I have. And that was literally just the caption of the post, was creative freedom. Because I feel like I have no restrictions on my podcast. I can say what I want, talk about the things that I want, and truly show you all who I am as a person. And just the fact that I have, you know, kids in the high school begging me for hoodies, you know, the ones that actually do have them, that rock them, you know, people coming up to me asking me when's the next episode in the hallways. You know, I truly appreciate the opportunity to have people that care. You know, you have people that record podcasts and stop because it's too hard, you know, don't have the longevity, can't figure out the content, don't know how to, you know, maintain that originality. But, you know, for me, it truly is easy because all I am is being myself. No takes, you know, no run backs, no editing. This is 100% Barry Holmes, man. And part of the reason why I love having the guests that I do have on my show, because not everybody can just come on to the Talk That Talk Show. You know, you got to have some sort of meaning to me. You have to be, you know, somewhat influential in your own way, you know, to earn a spot here on the show. And this person that I'm about to bring here on the show is someone that I've met over this past year. Just met him last year in 2023. But, you know, he's become one of my really good friends here. And I truly enjoy, you know, creating with him and doing what we do. So, you know, I'm going to let him get into a little bit about what he does. But, yo, if you are tuned in, yo, big shout out to Jonathan on our Facebook live stream. Big shout out to JD tuned in on our Instagram live stream. But I want you guys to give a big round of applause for my boy, Ernesto Molina!
Appreciate you having me, Barry.
Yes, sir. I was so hyped, I knocked over our cameras here. But, you know, real quick, for those of you guys that don't know who Ernesto is, Ernesto, why don't you let them know who you are, man?
So my name is Ernesto Molina. I am a coworker of Barry's, actually at Cloud9 Dispensary up in North Plainfield, New Jersey. And I'm actually one of the people that is behind part of the creative process over at Cloud9, I would say. Because I work mostly on the Instagram posts in terms of designing some of the backdrops and promotional marketing materials that we do for Instagram and social media. But I'm also part of the team that also works on discussing what types of apparels we should be doing and what types of clothing we want to do essentially in the future.
And you know, you actually came up with the 420 design for our shirt, which everybody loved. Everybody's rocking it. You know, you see people in the store wearing it. You know, some of my family members are constantly wearing their 420 shirts. So, you know, what does it feel like, Ernesto, when you've created, I know they use the word asset, right? But what does it feel like when you've created an asset for the store and then you see it used and used well?
Honestly, I feel like part of me is still getting used to it, because I think the only way I could really describe this whole process lately has been would be like a blessing, because I never expected to be in the position that I am, to be doing creative stuff essentially, because that was always a passion of mine, but it was never what I thought I would lean into in terms of like as like an actual profession.
Facts, man.
Because ever since I was a kid, my family, I was always the type of creative that like I loved art class when I was in school. Like I loved creating all like the weird, funky stuff that like would be like abstract essentially. But my parents were always like, no, you gotta like make sure you find something that's like gonna make you money, that's gonna like be more secure and stable rather than art. And so doing creative stuff now, and like with the t-shirt, for example, for the 420 t-shirt, I didn't think I was actually gonna be able to like have the opportunity to like come up with an actual design that would be not only just marketed but actually sold. And like at the end of the day, I can sit back and say like there's like at least 100 to 200 people out there wearing a shirt that like I have designed, and that's pretty cool. Like it's not something that like I ever thought would be something I'd be able to say, but it's pretty, like I really cherish that, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity to have been able to do that and to be able to continue to do more in the future in terms of creating assets.
And I'll say this, man, being someone that has sold merchandise, you know, sold shirts and sold hoodies with Talk That Talk Show, you know, I never lose the joy of seeing someone wearing my apparel, man. Like when I see you guys, you know, rocking my shirts or rocking the hoodies in the store, you know, it literally brightens my day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're really comfy. Y'all should definitely get some. They're super comfortable.
Yeah, you heard them first. Get that Talk Show hoodie. I think we still got a couple Canuck hoodies. But, you know, I think the cool part that you talked about, too, was, like, not expecting or not understanding or knowing what you would, you know, find that passion for and how to apply that. And I think that, you know, kind of a theme that goes along with that, and how a lot of us have all came in our different ways, is how we got into the cannabis industry, right? You know, I came from sports media and working in education where, you know, I had success, but I didn't exactly get the things that I wanted out of those career paths, right? I think that, you know, thank goodness for my girlfriend for showing me a Twitter post for the job posting, and that's literally how my in for the cannabis industry started. It was literally off of a Twitter post, yo. So for you, how did I don't think I really even got to ask you this, but like, how did you first start in the cannabis industry?
So, well, you do know that this is my first job in the cannabis industry.
Yep, it's both of ours.
Yeah, but I don't know if I ever told you this, but so 2023 was a very hard year for me in terms of I was unemployed for a lot of 2023. The last job that I had before this one, I was working at a nonprofit, and I was essentially a case manager for children in Newark, specifically in the South Ward. And essentially what I did is that I worked with families in order to connect kids to any extracurricular outside of school resources that they may need or want, such as like tutoring services, or like say a kid wants to like join a basketball camp. I would find the basketball camp, give them a number, connect them to whoever is running it, and then bam. Or like say a kid needs uniforms, but like they can't afford it. Me and my job would actually pay for the uniforms and just give them to families from time to time. And so yeah, I was a case manager for like 30 to 40 kids, and then ended up leaving in February of last year, or March, somewhere around there. And I left because I realized that that's not something that like I'm very passionate about in terms of like career-wise, because I knew that like I loved the work that I was doing. I loved helping people, because prior to that, my last 8 years have been in like nonprofit work essentially, and like helping people and doing a lot of community work and community organizing, doing event organizing, stuff like that. But this one was like my first big boy job, I would say, because it was my first job that like I had a salary for.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up leaving that job because I knew that I would have to stay at the same level for years at a time, and I wouldn't be able to like move up because like there wasn't really any promotion or anything like that unless I was like 40 plus with like 10 years of experience at like another company. And I knew like I don't want to keep making the same amount of money because I want to be able to make more. I want to be able to do more. I want to travel more. And so then ended up leaving that job, and I worked a few odd jobs in the meantime. But then kind of like you, I just found the job posting very randomly because I was on all the job sites. I was on LinkedIn, I was on Indeed, I was on Glassdoor, I was on everything.
Yeah.
But I actually found this website that is, I forgot the name of the website. I've been trying to find it ever since, but is this website in which is literally only for cannabis related jobs.
Okay.
And I figured, why not just essentially like shoot my shot, because like at that point I was applying to so many places but I wasn't getting anywhere. Like I was applying to a lot of like nonprofit jobs, trying to get something where I would be like some type of director or like some type of supervisor or something like that. And it wasn't something that I was passionate about, but I knew it would be something that like would look good on a resume. It would pay pretty good.
Yeah.
But when I found the cannabis website, I wanted to pursue something that was like, okay, I'm actually pretty passionate about cannabis. I like all the medicinal and the social properties that it has and helps people with. And I was like, fuck it, I'll apply. I'll see if I get it anywhere. And then I want to say it was like 2 weeks later. That was when one of our managers, Kristen, actually reached out to me, and I was like, oh shit.
I might have a shot at
this. I wasn't expecting anything. And this was like back in June, I want to say. And we had the interview process. She told me that we were going to open in July, and I was like, oh, bet. I don't gotta wait too long, because at that point I'd already been unemployed for like 3-4 months, and I had some money saved. But at that point I didn't think I was going to be going into June still being unemployed, because I was never the type to really like I would leave jobs, but I would always like find something very quickly. I didn't think it was going to take me long to find another job, and so I really felt like, oh, perfect timing. I don't know when they interviewed you, but it took a while for them to like actually open up the store because of a whole bunch of like legal processes and things that had to like get sorted out. And so at that point I was like, damn, I gotta wait a little longer. And so then we ended up joining in October. That's when we first started working there. And I just thought I was gonna be like a regular employee, because at that point I'd worked jobs. Like I've worked at Chipotle, I've worked at Qdoba, I've worked at Whole Foods, I've worked at AMC. I've worked a lot of jobs where I'm just like an employee. I'm just like the lowest rung on the ladder, so to speak. And so coming into this position, I kind of thought it was gonna be like similar level, because prior to us actually starting in October, I actually interviewed for a different dispensary.
Really?
Because I was like, yo, I need money. Like,
I ain't mad at
like
you,
at this
man.
point it was like September, October. Like I need like a steady paycheck. And like at that point I hadn't heard back from anybody for like a month or two, and I was like, I mean, they might not ever hit me back. Like, I don't know what was gonna happen.
And I think, to let people know about that was also something that I experienced too, Ernesto, where I had talked to Kristen. I had a couple phone interviews. I had actually came in for an interview to the store one time, and they pretty much said the same thing like you, that they weren't open at the time, and we pretty much had to wait for the store to open up. And for those people listening out there, it's a little hard out there because you have bills that you need to pay, and you have this job that you really, really want, but you gotta wait. And unfortunately, we had to wait. In the meantime, I don't know if you know this, but I was driving Uber. You know,
shit.
I was driving Uber for some time. Like, you know, when you have problems, you got to probably problem solve, right? So, you know, I was trying to do that, and you know, just like you know, I kind of stumbled upon this job, and you know, that creative freedom that you were talking about, where you know we're looked at as an asset as opposed to just a worker. I think that, especially for those people out there listening in that are managers or people that are looking to get into management positions, I think oftentimes people fuck up when they get into these management positions because they start being condescending and they start talking down to people because they get this like power trip. But some of the best leaders, and how I was taught, was some of the best leaders lead by example. So it's like, how can I expect someone to do this if I'm not in the mud, you know, grinding it out with them too? So I feel like the leadership people that we have in place, you know, at the job that we work at, you know, like Isaiah, for example, you know, he constantly puts us in positions to showcase what our tool belt is. And, you know, when you have people up top that do believe in you and that give you that creative freedom to say, hey, what's up? You know, let's see what you got. You know, I never would have thought, to your point, that I would have had 2 sponsorship jerseys, you know, by our dispensary. You know, we're the only bowling team sponsored by a dispensary, and what do? Bring home a state championship for them. You know, so you know, those are things that I really do, you know, take pride in, man. And I never really thought that I would take pride in the position like I do now, but you know, I truly feel a part of this movement that we have, you know, at Cloud9. And I think that, like I said before, I wanted you to come on here for sure to tell people a little bit also about, you know, what we do on the daily, man. So what's one thing that you feel like is like one of the biggest misconceptions about the cannabis industry and about working in the cannabis industry?
I feel like the first big thing that not the average person would know is probably like, we don't actually grow or have plants in like the back. Like like that is a very misconception that I honestly thought about too.
We're not trimming leaves.
Yeah, like we're not the
packaging
ones,
bags.
Yeah, we're not the ones clipping all the buds and packing all the pre-rolls and doing all the stuff. But a lot of it is honestly it's very different than what I thought it was gonna be. Because I thought it was gonna be more so like, okay, I'm essentially just gonna be a cashier, and it's, yes, that's part of it, but that's like a very small part of like what we actually do, because a lot of it that I realize is a lot more important than I initially thought would be the networking.
Facts.
Like networking with like these other companies, networking with like delivery drivers,
brand
reps, marketing representatives, like branch directors from like random companies from other states that are like just now starting to get into Jersey for like the first time, and marketing, like creating like media assets and like the importance of creating a media asset. Like I didn't realize how, it's pretty valuable to actually have like a design for like your products that you're trying to sell to people and to let them know about it.
And I was gonna say, it's funny because, you know, in a way, we're both creating assets too, because, you know, you create those digital assets where, you know, it goes up on the website, you know, it goes up on our Instagram feed so that people can see what products we have in. And then, you know, I create assets as well too. You know, can you tell people out there, you know, besides ringing registers, taking inventory, tagging products, what do I provide, you know, for the assets for the store?
So I don't know if anybody here knows, but on our dispensary page we actually have it's cloud.9.nj for anybody that wants to follow. Barry has his own segment called Barry's Corner, and honestly, a lot of our Instagram does revolve around Barry being Barry just being Barry, and him just having like the bright personality that he does. But on Barry's Corner, he gets to talk about some of his favorite products that he uses and enjoys. But also on our Instagram stories, we get to not fuck around, but like we found creative ways on how to like market stuff. Like
Facts.
one day we were doing like a BOGO deal, and Barry was just like, "Yo, somebody grab these cartridges and just dump them on me. Don't ask why, but just film me," and I got it from there. And nobody knew why Barry wanted us to do it, but as soon as like the camera started, Barry just like went into like his zone and just started going in and talking about the BOGO deal that we were doing. And so many people loved it. There was a lot of engagement when it came to the post. Everybody thought it was hilarious, and it was funny.
Facts. And I think what you touched on, and kind of like the route that I've chose to do like our social media with, is a cheesy approach. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we've kind of really hit on like those 80s car commercial type things, you know, where infomercials late at night. We just try to make you laugh, man. I feel like when I looked at some of the social media from, you know, our competitors, other dispensaries, it was boring as shit. It was just information, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like what we've tried to do is really highlight information, but give it to you in a way that you're actually going to retain it, you know what I'm saying? And through that, for us, it's comedy, you know what I'm saying? Whether that means I'm getting hit with cartridges, whether that means I'm out in the pouring rain talking about how much I love a product,
or
you know, or the Knicks. We got, hey, talk about creative freedom. We got to have an entire Knicks sale.
Yeah, we did.
In our store for our favorite team. You know, big shout out to John for that, man. But I feel like, again, when you have people that believe in you and give you the capabilities to be creative, you know, there's no telling what you can do, man. And I think that for you, being someone that's, you know, continuously finding your way to enhance the store, you know, we just have to stay consistent, man. I would say this to you. What is your most favorite thing about working at the dispensary?
Honestly, I would probably say that my favorite thing about working at the dispensary is the culture that we created. And that's something that I'm grateful that we were able to be a part of from the start, because we all essentially are meeting each other. We were all meeting each other for the first time. So no, we didn't really know what type of people everybody was going to be, how people can take jokes. But like the more that like we got to know each other, everybody jokes around. Everybody's having a fun time for the most part. And everybody's really allowed to just like be themselves. And everybody understands more about each other's personalities. So people know like who's gonna shine doing what. Like we know that like Barry, Isaiah, and Dejan, like everybody, like, some people shine at like talking to customers. Some people shine at like knowing like the scientifics of like the actual cannabis or the
Dylan will tell the shit out of you about some information, man. Like, and I've learned so much.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like I wasn't the type of person to even try concentrates before working there, but like with Dylan, Rob, and Kyle telling me about concentrates and like teaching me, I'm just like, yo, this shit is like a lot more sciencey than I thought it was ever gonna be.
No, yo, there used to be a time where me and my boy Jeff, we would just go to dispensaries and be like, yo, what's the highest THC, man? Like, I need that highest THC. And then, you know, you had Dylan who's scolding us, telling us, you don't know about CBG, you don't know about terpenes, all this stuff you're smoking is dog water. It's dog water. You know, but you got him telling us this stuff, and then we start to, you know, figure out the information, and, you know, like you talked about, you know, that product knowledge, and then from doing that, you know, we get that customer retention. You know, we're getting people that want to come back in, and they're coming specifically for certain people. So, you know, I feel like, you know, in general, that culture that you talked about really has started from A, helping each other, and B, you know, just being each other, you know, being there for each other, but supporting each other to be themselves, you know. I think that there's never once that you feel that you have to be something that you're not. I think that, you know, that culture is something that is very underrated because, you know, I'm sure TK can tell you that. I'm sure Jeff can tell you. My girlfriend, anybody, you know, we've all been in some work environments where that shit is toxic, and it can really build up on you to where it bogs on you. You've ever woken up out of sleep and be like, fuck, man, I gotta go to work today, man. I do not feel like it. If you have more times like that than not, then you probably gotta feel like it's transition time. But I've been thankful enough, Ernesto, to have the balance where I can be in the high school and be a mentor and be fulfilled in that sentimental intrinsic value that I'm looking for, but at the same time enjoy my time at the dispensary, building something and being a part of a startup, and no telling where the ceiling will be. You know, I think
that's the dope part. There really is no telling us like what the ceiling of this shit is gonna be.
Just don't fuck up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't mess up. But I know that you asked me this question, but I'm actually going to ask you this question. You've had a little bit of time to answer it. What would you say is some of the top 3 products that you've had over our entire, you know, span of being at Cloud9, and one product that you would suggest to someone else out there to try?
That's a very loaded question.
Right?
Like, there's a lot of good shit that I've tried. The one product I would recommend to anybody would probably be the Tangible Pearls.
Ooh,
like that is that really for me changed the way that I look at edibles now. Because before I used to try edibles, you wouldn't really do anything, and I would try some of the other brands that we would have, because we would either get a sample or somebody would like let me have a piece, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't really feel anything. But like when I tried the Tangible Pearls, I was surprised by like how consistent it was, because it wasn't like I just had one good high. Like no, like every time I tried it, it was good. So I would definitely recommend that for anybody who likes edibles. I would probably put the Lemon Kush up there.
Sheesh, that Lemon Kush was testing over 6% terps.
Yeah,
it was so good. I think I bought it 4 times.
Yeah,
I think I bought it 4 times. Yeah. It was that good.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. That was probably my favorite flower that we've ever had.
Sticky, high in terps.
It was super soft.
Very tasty. Could not break it up with your hands. You know what I'm saying? I think that was good. But yeah, I think that, you know, with, I think, weren't you talking about a pre-roll?
There's the fresh powder.
Yes!
The fresh powder pre-roll. Yeah, that's my favorite pre-roll. That one was amazing.
And then we had the Yum Yum too. I'd have to put that on.
That was pretty good. I just tried that too for the first time.
One of my boys, Ishabad Crane, he was super hyped because we put him on the Obama Runs from Garden Greens. Yo, if it came down to it, I'll say this. Garden Greens is one of the best up-and-coming brands in the game.
It surprised me. I never heard of them before, so when we got them in, it was like a home run every single time, honestly. Every time I tried it.
I'll say this, the Z-Pie, the Obama Runs, another really good, the Biscotti. People sleep on the Biscotti. It's really good. Even the white cake. The white cake was tasty. The Airheads. For those people that don't know, Garden Greens has been like this little indie grow company that's really come up. And really, they've really tested some great numbers compared to like cookies, man. But aside from Prolific, I got to put them up there as one of those best brands. I guess my last question, one of the last questions I have to you, Ernesto, before we hop off the show, how much enjoyment do you get from the customer interaction portion of our job?
I love interacting with our customers, honestly, because one of the things I learned very quickly is that I'm in a position where people are coming to me because they're either stressed the fuck out or they don't want to be stressed the fuck out later on in their day.
Yep.
And so part of me is kind of like very lucky that like a lot of my past experience was like community organizing, community event stuff, because I had to talk to a bunch of strangers all the time.
Yeah.
So like now that I'm doing it here, you will never know what type of person you're gonna meet, but like you end up having some dope ass you meet some dope ass people, you have some funny ass conversations, and build these relationships with these people, because they're gonna come back at some point, and then you remember either something from the conversation that y'all talked about, something that you put them onto, and then you just kind of just create that bond organically with them that lasts, essentially, because like we're smoking weed. Like you
can't be that hard, man.
You can't be mad when you're just like when you're smoking weed. Like you shouldn't be mad.
No, man. If you are mad while you're enjoying some marijuana, there is something wrong, or you need a stronger strain. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Or you need some dabs.
But you know what, man? I'll say this, bro. It has definitely been a pleasure to have you here on the show, Ernesto. And I'll say this. 30 minutes has literally flown by. And I think the cool way to translate is that when you're doing something that you enjoy, right? Mm-hmm. When we're at work, it truly feels like that time's flying because we're spending time with people we want to be around, mm-hmm. and we're doing something that we enjoy. You know, you talked about at first you didn't know that you would be as passionate, but that's the cool part about growing into our older adult lives, if you want to say, because we're starting to find out what we like. I think, you know, most of the time you're figuring out in your younger stages, what do I like? You're experimenting, doing certain things like this. Mm-hmm. And then once you find out what you like, you can really narrow in and zone in and lock in. Like I literally watched my boy TK say, you know what? I'm thinking about bowling. And now this dude is literally getting re-rated everywhere he goes because people are scared to fucking bowl him. I've seen it with my own two eyes. But the point is, when you lock into something, when you find something that you really enjoy and you maximize yourself to where you're like, yo, this is what I want to do. You start coming to work a little earlier. You start working on some assets at home. You start practicing on days that you don't think you should, right? You know, the cool part about it is once you put that extra work in and you really find something that you're passionate about, once you find those results, it's not hard to put the work in anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, I've seen what I can get from putting this in. Now I just got to keep doing it, you know? And
that's very true.
That's why I really enjoy what we've done at the with this podcast, not just here, but just in building it, because I could have easily been just happy with like 100 episodes or 50, or the fact that I had 1,000 views on a podcast or whatever, and just been happy.
And now you're 252 strong.
252, and I've been able to have everybody on. Dude, Ernesto, I used to literally just talk about sports. The fact that we're here at episode 252 and we're able to talk about the cannabis industry, this podcast has come a long way. Mm-hmm. So I just thank you for being a part of the growth of this podcast, and then also thank you for being a part of the growth of me within this cannabis industry, man.
Appreciate you, man.
I've truly enjoyed working with you, man. You've become a good friend of mine. You've supported us, you know, bowling, you know, at the alley multiple times. And, you know, part of that reason why we are state champions and why we have got league championships is because we have the support of people like you, like my girlfriend that shows up every week, you know, like my pops, you know, who, you know, literally he was on one leg at one point. He's still thugging it out. You know, like my boy Jeff, who comes over to, you know, Jersey lanes. Comes over to Majestic, you know, my boy Ish, you can always catch him at Bolero. You know, we got people that truly support us, and when you truly feel supported, it doesn't feel hard going out there to go roll some good games. My sister, she come out here always in the pay window, getting money in the pay window, and never got in the card game, our personal card game. But once you start getting in the personal card game, then she's taking all our money. I'm like, yo, what if you did that from the start? We would have been broke from the beginning, you know? So I just think it's funny because once you see the results of investing in yourself, it just doesn't become hard to invest in yourself. You know what I'm saying? So just keep doing what you're doing, Ernesto. You got people like Squib, what was this, Chloe, who's in our Instagram live, that really enjoy working with us, and you know they see that the things that we're doing is working. You know, people come to you, Ernesto, and they're like, yo, I gotta have Ernesto, man. He's gonna help me out. People come and say they seen Barry's Corner. The shit we're doing works, man. So just keep it up, man.
Appreciate you for having me here today, Barry.
Hell yeah, man. And For all you guys tuned in, thank you guys so much for tuning in on Facebook Live, Instagram, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, YouTube, you name it. We're on all streaming platforms. These Cloud jerseys, we all came together to design a Cloud9, and that just speaks to the culture. It's all for one or one for all, man, right? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you all. We got some joints to smoke and some drinks to have, so it's time to enjoy. I love you all, and I'll see you all next week.